Have you ever wondered why the King of England doesn't just do whatever he wants? Why can't he just barge into Parliament, dismiss everyone, and rule by decree? Well, the answer lies in a fascinating, almost bloodless, and incredibly pivotal moment in history known as the Glorious Revolution. This wasn't just a squabble over a crown. It was the event that fundamentally reshaped the British monarchy and laid the groundwork for modern constitutional systems all around the world. So, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let us travel back to 17th century England to uncover how a power struggle between a king and his people forever changed the rules of the game. To really get what happened, we need to set the scene. Imagine England in the late 1680s, the memory of the bloody English Civil War, where King Charles I literally lost his head, was still fresh in everyone's mind. His son, Charles II, had been restored to the throne, but the relationship between the crown and Parliament was, to put it mildly, tense. The big issue, religion. England was overwhelmingly Protestant, and there was a deep-seated fear and suspicion of Catholicism. People worried that a Catholic monarch would try to impose their faith on the nation and ally with powerful Catholic countries like France, undermining England's independence and Protestant identity. When Charles II died in 1685 without a legitimate heir, the crown passed to his brother James, and here's the kicker: James II was openly and devoutly Catholic. From the moment he took the throne, alarm bells started ringing all across the country. James was not exactly a subtle guy. He immediately began appointing Catholics to high-ranking positions in the military, the government, and even at universities like Oxford. This was in direct violation of the Test Acts, laws specifically designed to prevent Catholics from holding public office. Parliament protested, but James simply dismissed them. He believed in the divine right of kings, the idea that his authority came directly from God and that he was unanswerable to any earthly institution, including Parliament. Then, in 1687, James II issued the Declaration of Indulgence. On the surface, it sounded pretty good. It granted religious freedom to everyone, including Catholics and nonconformist Protestants. But many saw it as a Trojan horse. They believed James's real goal was to elevate Catholicism above all other religions. He even ordered that the Declaration be read from the pulpit of every church in the land. When 7 prominent bishops refused and petitioned the king, he had them arrested and put on trial for sedition. The public was outraged, the bishops were sensationally acquitted, and their release was met with widespread celebrations. It was a clear sign that James had massively misjudged the mood of his people. The breaking point came in June 1688. After years of marriage, James's Catholic wife, Mary of Modena, gave birth to a son, James Francis Edward Stuart. Before this, the heir to the throne was James's older daughter, Mary, who was a Protestant and married to the Dutch leader, William of Orange. Many had been willing to tolerate James II's rule, assuming that the Protestant Mary would eventually succeed him. But the birth of a healthy baby boy who would be raised Catholic created the terrifying prospect of a permanent Catholic dynasty ruling England. For a group of powerful Protestant nobles known as the Immortal Seven, this was the last straw. They decided to take a huge gamble. In secret, the Immortal Seven penned a letter. It wasn't a declaration of war, but an invitation. They sent it across the North Sea to William of Orange. The letter invited William to bring an army to England, not to conquer the country, but to intervene and protect the Protestant faith and the traditional rights and liberties of the English people against King James's overreach. William was in a tricky position. He was a major Protestant leader in Europe, constantly fighting against the expansionist ambitions of Catholic King Louis XIV of France. Gaining control of England's powerful navy and resources would be a massive strategic advantage. After some deliberation, and with the assurance of support from the English nobility, William accepted the invitation. He assembled a massive fleet, larger even than the famous Spanish Armada a century earlier, and prepared to sail for England. On November 5, 1688, a date already significant in England as Guy Fawkes Day, William's forces landed at Torbay in the southwest. Now, you might expect a huge, bloody battle to follow, right? But that's not what happened. As William began his slow march towards London, something remarkable occurred. James II's support simply melted away. Key military commanders, including John Churchill, the future Duke of Marlborough, and even James's own daughter, Princess Anne, deserted him and pledged their allegiance to William. James was utterly isolated and panicked. He saw the writing on the wall. Rather than face a battle he could win or a trial that could end like his father's, he decided to flee. In a rather undignified episode, he was captured by some fishermen, but William, in a clever move, essentially allowed him to escape a second time. Why? Because having James as a martyr would have been a problem. It was much cleaner for him to simply abandon his throne and flee to France. With James gone, a constitutional crisis emerged. Had he abdicated? Had he been overthrown? This was uncharted territory. Parliament, or rather a special convention parliament, was called to figure out what to do. After intense debate, they came up with a brilliant solution. They declared that by fleeing the country, James II had effectively abdicated the throne, leaving it vacant. This was a crucial legal and philosophical step. It established the principle that a monarch could, through their actions, break their contract with the people. They then formally offered the crown not just to William, and not to Mary as the direct heir, but to William and Mary as joint sovereigns. This was unprecedented, a king and queen ruling together as equals. But there was a catch, and it's the most important part of this whole story. Before William and Mary could be crowned, they had to agree to a set of conditions laid out by Parliament. These conditions were formalized in a landmark document called the Bill of Rights of 1689. This wasn't just a list of suggestions, it was a binding contract. The Bill of Rights declared that the monarch could not suspend laws, levy taxes, or maintain a standing army in peacetime without Parliament's consent. It guaranteed free elections, freedom of speech within Parliament, and protected citizens from excessive bail and cruel and unusual punishments. Think about what this meant. The old idea of the divine right of kings was dead. Power no longer flowed from God to the monarch alone. Instead, the monarch's power was now limited by law and derived from the consent of Parliament, which represented the people. The monarchy had been transformed from an absolute one into a constitutional one. This was the glorious part of the revolution, a fundamental shift in power achieved with very little bloodshed in England itself. It established a system where the government, including the monarch, was under the rule of law. The effects of the glorious revolution were profound and long-lasting. It secured the Protestant succession to the throne and laid the foundations for the modern United Kingdom. The financial and military power of the state grew enormously, but it was now controlled by Parliament, leading to the rise of Great Britain as a global power. And its influence spread far beyond British shores. The ideas enshrined in the Bill of Rights, limited government, individual liberties, and the consent of the governed were hugely influential on thinkers of the Enlightenment and, later, on the American revolutionaries. In fact, many of the protections found in the American Bill of Rights can be traced directly back to the English Bill of Rights of 1689. So, the next time you see the British monarch in a largely ceremonial role, remember the Glorious Revolution. It was the moment that England traded an absolute king for a constitutional one, establishing a partnership between Crown and Parliament that has defined the nation ever since. It was a revolution not of swords and fire, but of ideas, laws, and principles that helped shape the modern world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the pivotal moments that shaped our history. Let me know in the comments what you think. Was it truly glorious? See you in the next video.